Can the Raiders bounce back from an utterly embarrassing loss at New Orleans? Let's find out.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
The other team's quarterback must go down, and he must go down hard.
As we normally do, we start on the defensive side for the Raiders, but the first thing we always like to do is go over the injury report. We have 3. Divine Diablo and Darren Waller have been having issues before. Neil Farrell Jr. with a knee, limited practice all the way through. That's kind of a problem for us as far as the one tech, but I don't think it's going to impact us severely as far as stopping the run. We still were doing that, believe it or not, last week with the Saints, even though we did send Jonathan Hankins to Dallas. As far as the Jacksonville Jaguars go, they got one guy on their list is questionable. It's basically a backup wide receiver, so their starters are all healthy and ready to go. So let's get into this right now. I'm going to give you 2 keys on defense and then 2 on offense. And the first one should not be any surprise. Of course, it's going to be stopping this guy, and that's Travisetienne. The reason that they got rid of James Robinson, frankly, and this guy has taken over the last couple of games and has been outstanding. I mean, he's averaging 135 yards and 1 touchdown per game. They're very much like us, and that's why I put this in the thumbnail, showing a mirror image, not only with Carr and Lawrence's stats as far as yards, touchdowns, interceptions, completion percentage, very close to one another, but also the way this team's formed, especially on the offensive side. They're actually getting a good running game going, and they're living on that. They're 7th in the league. We're 10th in the league running the ball. So I think this is their biggest weapon, and he's been showing that he can take this load. And this is my goal for us. Keep him under 100 yards. Like I say, he's been averaging 135 and a touchdown. I also put no rushing touchdowns. Also put 6 rushing first downs. Now, I did that because they got 12 rushing first downs last week against Denver in the loss, but it was a close loss. And before that, 7 against the Giants. So they're averaging about 10 per game with Etienne as their full-time bell cow type running back. So I think if we can do that, that's going to go a long way. But of course, we're going to have to get to the second one, and that should really come to no surprise, to be honest with you. And that's this front 4. It was pathetic. I mean, maxxcrosby's out there doing what he can, but he kind of underperformed as well. Let's be honest. No sacks, no QB hits last week. Andy Dalton got to do whatever he wanted. We can't let that happen here. They've got Christian Kirk. They've got Marvin Jones, Evan Ingram in free agency as well. And I want to see at least 2 sacks and 5 quarterback hits. I think that's a good benchmark for us. If you look back into the games against the Jaguars, they've had some issues with Lawrence throwing interceptions. They were getting to the quarterback more. We got to find our way. And quite frankly, if you look at the ratings on the offensive line for the Jaguars, there really shouldn't be any excuse for either Max or Chandler Jones to get to the quarterback. I'm also going to see Divine Diablo. He's doing some inside blitzing. Of course, Jonathan Abram coming in as well. So at least 2 sacks, at least 5 quarterback hits, and less than 50% on those 3rd down conversions. Got to keep this guys off the field and shut down this running game of this offense, and we'll go a long way to win this game. Again, if you are enjoying this, of course, got to urge you to subscribe, follow if you're a TikToker, and of course, we do this that way you'll be notified. And of course, we're going to do it again like we normally do, and we're going to be going live at halftime of this game. So it's a 10 o'clock start, just like last week, 10 o'clock Pacific. Probably be on about 11:30. We go about 10 or 15 minutes. We talk about these 4 keys of the game. I also give my good, my bad, my ugly to the first half. And then I want to hear from you what you think of it and what you're grading this team through the first 30 minutes of the game. We have a lot of fun, and I encourage you all to come out and join us.
I hear everyone say, take what they give you. We're going to take what we want.
Now on the offensive side of the ball, it should really be of no surprise because this was probably the biggest issue we had. Of course, we're going to start with this offensive line as a whole, including Colton Miller. Like I said, he got owned by Marcus Davenport last week. They've got some pass rushers here, including number 1 overall pick, Javon Walker. Arden Key, he's been kind of doing well ever since he left the Raiders and went to the 49ers. They have adequate amount of pass rushers on this team that can keep us on our toes, especially with the way this offensive line played last week. And like I said, I don't need this rating to tell me Alex Barr sucks. I told you guys that before. I'm going to keep this right here. This is a good benchmark in my opinion. 2 sacks max, 5 quarterback hits max. If they're getting anything more than that, Carr's going to be skittish. this offense is going to sputter. We're going to be in deep trouble once again. And I'm still looking at that 50% third down conversions. I think it's doable. It's a little above average, but you know what? I think we can do it against this team. And I'm going to go to my second point, not only with the offensive line, I'm gonna talk about Josh Jacobs in this running game. It's not going to be exactly what you think. They do have a good run defense, similar to us, but the problem with their defense is they're one of the worst against the running backs receiving the ball, kind of like us. I didn't mention it on the other side because Travisetienne hardly ever catches the ball, and in fact, the Jags hardly ever throw to the running backs out in the flat. So that's a plus for us because we're terrible at it too, just like they are. This is a mirror image. This is what reminds me of. So I'm looking at 80 yards combined goal for all of our halfbacks, and receiving yards, I want to see at least 2 rushing touchdowns. It's weird that they're pretty good against the run as far as yardage, but they give up a lot of rushing touchdowns. So I think we can move the ball against these guys out in the flat. And of course, the passing game needs to get going. And that's going to be on the offensive line with better pass protection. And then punch it in when we're close. And I think we can do that. Josh Jacobs has shown that he can do that as well. Now, as far as my prediction goes, if all goes well, I'm looking at about a 31-24 victory for us. Jacksonville does not score a whole lot of points. They've only scored in the 30s one time this whole season, and our defense has only given up 30-plus points one time this whole season. That was against the Chiefs, of course. I could see this, and I might be giving them too many points, but it is going to be in Duval. It's going to be humid probably, even though it's in early November now. I know the Raiders took a week, stayed in Sarasota, hopefully to get acclimated to that Gulf Coast environment. If you haven't been down there or you haven't lived down there, trust me, it's rainy, it's miserable, and it's hot, and it's humid, and it's really sticky. And that could play a part with this team, this Raiders team, down the stretch. But I think if they all do well and they're quote-unquote not tanking, I could see this being a 31-24 victory. But I want to know what you have to say. Of course, as usual, put it in the comments right now in chat, in live chat, both on TikTok and YouTube. Put your actual score prediction for this game. If you are watching this on a replay, why not subscribe so you can be here with us? But put it in the comment section as well. And like I said, I read these comments and I usually respond to them unless they're insane.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.